Welcome to another exciting Friday afternoon on Making Sense. If you are here for the first time, please let us know where you're tuning in from. And even if you're coming back, do let us know where you're tuning in from. Totally excited to be here today to have another fantastic conversation. Just to remind you what Making Sense is about. Making Sense is built on the principles of a book I wrote called Making Sense. And this is generally a storybook about money that helps us change our mindset about money. So this book was written out of conversations with many people. So it's one of those books that it is a book about finance, but you are also going to get to see yourself reflected in the stories of this book. And I think even as I wrote this book, I realized that a lot of the changes and transformations that happen with people are about money. And they're about how we think. So we don't get the external never changes before the internal. And today we are actually talking about mindset, and specifically the entrepreneurship mindset, which is just so important in this season, not just because for those who are entrepreneurs, but also those who are in transition, who have found themselves in a different space, in a different way of thinking, that this has made them realize that something actually does need to change. So we are here today to handle those sorts of conversations. So welcome everybody. As I said before, if you're just joining in, please let us know where you're tuning in from. Let me start seeing some comments and for people to start telling me, where are you tuning in from today? We usually have people from all over the world. And what we're doing on Making Sense is making sure we have a community of people who are empowering themselves, empowering their families, empowering their communities, empowering their businesses, because we just believe here on Making Sense and at Centonomy that it is time to shift mindset so that us purposeful people who have showed up today can create wealth and transform not just our lives, but, reach out to wherever it is that we have been called. So today, as I said, we are talking about the entrepreneurship mindset. Now, every time we mention the word entrepreneur, people think it's about business. And I just want to remind you today, guys, I'm not going to talk for very long because I want us to be very interactive. And today is really about you asking questions, because we're in a different time, we're transitioning to a different time. So I want to learn from you, but please ask me questions. I can see the questions as they come in. So already, thank you, Juliet, tuned in from Kisumu. Thank you, Alan from Dubai. Thank you, Naomi from Upper Hill. Shaq, I can see you, and everybody else who's tuning in. Please let us know where you're coming from, but start the questions. Don't wait for me. I'm just going to tackle 5 areas of mindset. And you may agree with me on some things, you may disagree, but I'm trying to also start shifting our conversation to what do we need? What have we learned from this experience? Because, I had in another talk, you should never waste a crisis. And as much as people are still continuing the very important conversations of how do you survive during COVID, how do you handle business, how do you handle your jobs, how do you handle career, we've also got to take stock of what mindset shift, how have I been thinking? So for me, I have learned, and so many things that we relied on from externally. Guys, what were we relying on externally? We relied on a routine, we relied on a system, we relied on even being able to have an office. We relied on so many things that are now being called into question. So for me, I'm now thinking, yes, there are those things we relied on externally, but I think a mindset is all about what do I draw in internally now? So mindset is not outward looking, it's inward looking. We're no longer just going to not say, I didn't thrive in my job, in my life, in my business because of money, because of networks, etc. It's time to understand what do we need to start doing as ourselves. During this season, and whenever seasons happen, I take inspiration from different things. And today on the Centonomy Entrepreneur Program, we kicked off with this very same conversation on entrepreneur mindset. And I was telling my class that what is really inspiring me this season is the story of David and Goliath. Because, and I'd like all of you, after this, go and grab your Bibles, go Google on the net. That story of David and Goliath is well known, but just go read it again with a different eye. So whether you're Christian like me or whether you're not, it's really about the principles in that book, yeah? And the story of David and Goliath is always that the underdog beat this big giant that nobody else was brave enough to tackle. But when you read that story properly, you realize there's a way David looked at himself that was so important in that story. There's a way he refused the rest of the world to define you. Guys, is there anybody who's tired of the rest of the world defining them? Because even as business people, and thank you everybody who's tuning in. I can see Kitui, I can see Burundi, I can see Zimbabwe. Thank you for tuning in, yeah? So is there anybody who's tired of waiting for somebody else to define them, waiting for more money, waiting for more networks, waiting for, and don't we always feel that we are waiting for people to be the ones to give us permission as to what we can actually do? So mindset shift number 1, write this down. What is in your hand? What is in your hand? What is in your hand? And Shaq, I can see your comment about what advice would I give a college student to start gaining confidence to go out there. So Shaq, this one is for you. What is in your hand? We feel we don't have confidence because we're always looking to other people to give us the approval that we can actually make it, yeah? So what is in your hand? Even those businesses that are currently here and you've been affected and you have been disrupted, some of you have had to shut down, what is in your hand is experience. And if you lose sight of the lesson from that experience, you will lose sight of a very valuable resource that you have been given, yeah? So it's time for people to recognize if all of us have something that we can use, and the problem is we're always looking external. So if you've been in a job, if you've been in a business, what has that experience given you? Sit down and actually think about it. And I can talk because I know Centonomy, which I founded 11 years ago, was built as a result of failure from a previous business. But now when I can look back, I do realize that if I had not understood that that is a lesson, Centonomy would never be. Because in my first business, I started talking to people. I was in the stockbroking industry. I started talking to people about money. And that's what gave me the aha moment. So failure is never a failure, never failure. It is just a platform on which you can leverage to actually jump out, yeah? So what is in your hand? If you have a job today, that's what's in your hand. So stop treating this job just as a means to an end, as a paycheck, yeah? It's something that is in your hand. And when something is in your hand, it has to be nurtured, it has to be taken care of. If you have a business, do you see what is in your hand? Yesterday in my class, we went through this example of somebody. So anyone who's in business out there and is listening to me, understand this is the time we need to start redefining ourselves, yeah? And we went through this example. If you print business cards, you can define yourself as a business that prints different business cards. But when you start seeing what is in your hand properly, it's not a business card printing business. It is a business about branding, yeah? So you may have a hardware shop. Is that really what is in your hand? That's what you have defined it as day. But now look at your customers, look at the environment, look at the conversations you have with people in that shop, and use that to redefine yourself. Because definition for us going forward is going to be very important. And when you start focusing on what is in your hand, you stop being reliant on other people to define that for you. You see, we're in a society that don't we love to compare? So we're with other people, we're comparing all the time, and we've got to stop comparing ourselves with other people. What do you actually have? So the story of David did this very well, because to other people, he was this small shepherd boy, yeah? who had no experience fighting the giants like Goliath. But once David saw what was in his hand, his experience, where while he was just with the sheep, he killed a lion and he killed a bear. He used that and decided that because of that, I can go and fight the giant. What is in your hand, guys? What is in your hand? Let me hear what is in your hand. Naomi, you are right. A bird in hand is worth more than flock in the bush. Yeah. So let's remove, and remember, external. We have been put in a situation where a lot of the things we relied on externally to work for us don't work. So we've got to look inward, and we've got to look, what do I have? Already, all of you here have a phone, a laptop, an iPad, some sort of device you're using to stream this. Start looking at that, what is in your hand. If you have a business with a team, what is that team? What can they actually do? Because our expansion is going to come not because other people are bringing in, but because you have realized what you have. And there's one thing I'm so clear about: everybody has something that they are bringing and can bring to the table. Okay, number 2. So what is in your hand is number 1. Guys, remember, please put your questions. Please ask me questions. Shaq, I hope that has helped you gain confidence by understanding what is in your hand. So today I'm really opening the floor to questions. So please keep these questions coming. Number 2, a bias towards local. A bias towards local. Yeah. And I can see the questions on investors, mentorship, and I'm coming there. Yeah, a bias. This is what is happening. The customer is becoming biased towards local. A couple of days ago, I had a plumbing problem, and the plumber had to come and bring a part. And he told me what is now happening, where he had to get the parts. People have become so anti-China that parts from China are being repackaged, and people are writing from Brazil, from South Africa, from UK, which is not the right thing to do. And that's horrible. That is happening. Yeah. But you can see how there's become a bias towards of China, first of all, but a bias towards, even the customer has become very biased towards, we have now realized what we have, and the customer is starting to take confidence on what we have. So already, because you are a Kenyan or an African business or an African entrepreneurial thinker, that's a value proposition for customers in this continent. Yeah. So we've got to understand, how are we leveraging on that? Yeah, because made in Africa, made in Kenya is going to be the next, is a value proposition. Using talent is a value proposition. I once remember meeting a guy who was like, asked him, what is your business? And he's like, I import things from China and sell. But he was not clear. He's like, I can import whatever it is you need. And that's not what's going to take us forward. Yeah. So remember, there's a bias towards local consumption, local production. When I'm going to the shop as a consumer now, I am looking for made in Kenya. And if I can't find made in Kenya, I am looking for made in Africa. So even as you structure your business, understand, how are you using that? That for many businesses is the reason why people come. If someone opens a factory and say, hey, this has clothes, but these clothes are made in Kenya. So we'd rather be the country that imports sewing machines and makes clothes, but not the country importing clothes, because we like our designs. We want to promote our fashion designers. We want to promote our own unique way of dressing and thinking, because Africa is where we are standing now, is the next growth wave. But as Africans, we will benefit, even us, let's think both as entrepreneurs and consumers. As Africans, we are going to benefit because of a strong bias that we develop towards Africa. Other nations succeeded because they have a strong bias towards buying the things that are made and produced and services that are consumed in their own markets. So let's also without apology get that bias towards Africa. Africa talent, Africa product, Africa services, the unique way of of Africa, of Kenya, of Uganda, and Burundi, Zimbabwe, South Africa, all the countries that are represented here today. So I'm coming to the investors who have, I can see the questions on the investors, and I'm coming to that question. Sure. Let me take ZP. Thank you. About what's in your hand is your voice and ability to speak and inspire. So that's what you actually use. You can be running a clothes shop, but you're going to run that clothes shop very differently because you have the ability to speak and inspire. So how do you bring that into your job? How do you bring that into your business? Guys, we really have to move away from thinking we are the same. You and me can be lawyers, you and me can be accountants, you and me can be a teller in a bank. But once we realize what is unique to me and what is in my hand, that is what I am going to leverage on, and that is what is going to become very, very different about me. Let's see if there are any other questions so far about what I've talked about. Alan, you're saying sometimes you have the capital, you have the materials, but you don't know which business you want to start and run. Though you strongly believe you want to be a business person, how can you go about that? You know what, you guys, I love about your questions. You're asking the questions about the point I am coming to. So Alan, this is for you, yeah? What problem are you solving? So the question is not what business will you start? Yeah. And I think we have had times, we have made so many mistakes by thinking that it's other. If I see a business, someone is running a shop with clothes, someone is doing graphic design, someone else has an M-Pesa shop. For those who are in Kenya and you know M-Pesa, we make the mistakes of thinking that that is what I should also do. So Alan, what problem are you solving? Yeah. And you know, from the point I've just said about knowing what it is, what is in your hand, so you can you mix the two. You understand what is in your hand and you understand how to use that to solve a problem. Yeah. David's problem in that same story of David and Goliath. Remember, guys, go and read that. Please go read that story. In that story of David and Goliath, David's problem was Goliath. Everybody was looking at Goliath as a problem. David got there and said, Goliath is a problem. That is what I'm going to solve. Then David said to the naysayers, because I've been doing, I killed a lion, I killed a bear. That is what I'm going to actually use in this. So what problem do you see that you can solve? And this is not just for Alan who's thinking about starting. This is also, I'm also talking to those people who have a business. You've been running a business. You started a business because many of us just start business, but you've never understood what problem you are solving. I have talked to many business people, and those who understood they're solving a problem found a way to continue. For example, early on, I had a session with hairdressers who were the first people to be disrupted when COVID came. Yeah. And a lot of hairdressers stopped working for a while, but there's some hairdressers who knew their customers so well and understood the problems they solve for their customer that they found a way around it. So I know someone who said, me, I'm a good stylist. My customers like styling. Every 2 weeks, they need a fresh style. That hasn't stopped. And in fact, just because they are working on Zoom does not mean the need for styling. So very, very quickly, he offered to start going to people's houses and styling, even at that time when we had not even started coming out of the house like we are now. So it's figuring out what is that problem for you, because once you have a problem, you're going to be very focused on how to actually solve that problem. For those of you who are in Kenya, you know Gong Road, and you know how all those people there make furniture. So many times we think about our businesses like those furniture making. We are one of the businesses out of the million businesses that are in this world. For those who are not in Kenya, Gong Road is a road in Kenya that is very famous because we have people, there are hardware shops, and we have a lot of carpenters. So there's a lot of furniture that is sold off the road on Gong Road. Yeah. So what problem is Gong Road solving? Yeah. So you could go on the basic. It's affordable furniture for most. It's on a road that is busy. It has relatively good prices. You can get some sort of variety. It's solving a problem. But there are many of those people who are making furniture on Gong Road. So I would even still say, even if you are one of the people on Gong Road, I'd still challenge and say, what particular problem makes your furniture shop different from somebody else's furniture shop? Because we are going into a world where that is noisy. We are going into a world where everybody is looking for opportunity, and you have to find something different. Even if you are running, and some of you I know are running existing businesses, what is unique to you? And that uniqueness is usually in the problem that you're solving. So if you are one of those furniture sellers on Gong Road, you'd have to ask yourself, is my problem more I'm solving wardrobe issues? Is it beds? People are finding their beds are not big enough, or there's not enough creativity in beds. Is it kids' beds or kids' furniture I'm going to focus on because there's not enough variety with kids' furniture? And you know, kids like nice colors and cartoons on their bed. So then you become, instead of just being general furniture like everybody else, you become the one that does nice, colorful kids' beds with cartoons. What problem are you solving? Kids they want to sleep in nice looking beds. So that's the problem that you are actually solving, yeah? So as I said before, solving a problem gives you focus. And you know why as an entrepreneur you need to be focused is because you cannot do everything well. And we need now to step up and be the kind of people who are committed to doing whatever it is we are doing excellently. So this is not just for entrepreneurs, and why I'm calling it the entrepreneur mindset, not the business mindset, is everyone here who is in a job. Understand that even in your job, you have to start thinking like an entrepreneur. So even in your job, ask yourself, do I have a job just for the sake of being in a job? Or am I solving a problem? What problem are you solving? Okay. I had a conversation with just now with someone who works in a bank. Even not just us, even big businesses are realizing they have to go back to the problem. And you know, banks, it was, you know, get the deposits, lend on security. People have property to give you a security. But what has happened in this period is that they have also found that what they took comfort in, security of property, they can't. A lot of people have told them, here, you have my property, good luck with it. Nobody's buying property at the moment. So this asset that they took so much confidence in using as security, they have been disrupted in that thinking. And you know, this conversation with banks has been going on for a while, where most banks are still in their box about, if you want to get a loan, you must have a property that needs to secure it. And I think especially in Africa, that's one change we definitely need to have in the banking sector. So remember, general business doesn't work. You are not just a caterer. What problem are you solving? You are not just a graphic designer. What problem are you solving? You're not just a training company. What problem are you solving? You're not just a cab driver. What problem are you solving? You're not just a marketing manager. What problem are you solving? So everybody has become so clear about that, because that is what gives you differentiation. And when you know what problem you're solving, you start becoming a business or a career person, or whatever it is you're doing, of purpose. Problem solving always leads to purpose, yeah? Because purpose is about solving problem, and it stops being just about you, yeah? So you start becoming a purposeful business, not just a business that is running for the sake of running. Fourth thing that I want to talk about, yeah? And let me see if there are any questions so far. I can see lots of comments. I can see people talking about, yes, LC research extremely important. Yeah, okay. I know some people have asked about investments, and I'm coming to money at the end of this. Culture. The other shift we're going to have to make as people in business is that of culture. We have to change, and culture is how have we been operating and thinking about our operation. And culture is something that is created. Every action you're taking is creating a culture. Every word you're saying is creating a culture. So what culture are we creating in organizations, both as the founders of these organizations and the people who work in these organizations? And I'm going to go to something that we teach in the Centonomy entrepreneur class, and I was talking to students about yesterday, and this is this thing of self-employed versus entrepreneur. We have to start getting a entrepreneurial culture, not a self-employed culture. And this is the difference. Imagine you sell cars, but to sell those cars, it is you who has to be at your car dealership for cars to be sold. Anybody else there does not sell cars. Maybe they do administrative tasks, yeah? You sell cars really well. And most of us who are in business, there's certain things we do really well, and which is good, but sometimes it becomes the very thing that has made us stay in one place at the same time. Many businesses in this season have found themselves not able to move because they were doing something very well, but it was dependent on them. And now when they couldn't move around, things fell apart. So you sell cars, but customers come, they ask for you. You can never take a week off from your business, because if you take a week off, it means no sales are made. You are self-employed. Your business can look very good. You can even have earned a lot of money. You can be living a very good life off this business. But if the minute you are not there, the business falls apart. You are self-employed. How many of us, if we're quite honest, we may be running a business, but we are stuck being self-employed? If you are not in the shop doesn't work. If you don't go to the office, it doesn't work. If you are not there, it falls apart. And this is the thing. We have to build, it's like building a house, but then moving inside the house, yeah? Which is fine. You've built a nice house, but you have moved inside. But as an entrepreneurship attitude, this is what it does. You do have the house, but more importantly, you involve other people so that they can come in, continue building the house, so that you can step outside of the house and build another and another and another. And that is also what gives you freedom. So that same car dealership could have turned around and said, I'm going to also work with other people who can sell cars just as well. And by working with other people, you may even realize other people have skills that you don't have. So they can talk to, maybe you are talking to a certain market, other people are good at talking to another market. But if cars can be sold without you having to be there, payments can be made, cars can be brought in, the business can actually work. It allows you to think, because the most important thing is that one of the most important things you have to spend your time on as an entrepreneur is thinking. You can now think, are there other areas that this car dealership can expand? Do I get into car manufacturing? Is that where the opportunity is? Or other sorts of businesses? But if you're stuck being the salesperson, or what I call the technician in the business, you are not going to grow. So how many of us are in a business where we have been stuck being the only people in the business? That is self-employed, and we have to move to entrepreneurship. When you're that car salesman, you're focusing on working in the business, whilst as an entrepreneur, it's about working on the business. When you're spending time thinking, networking, understanding how to bring in investors, understanding where the business can go forward, understanding what systems and structures to put in the business, you're working on the business. So right now, if you've realized you are self-employed, figure out what is making you stay self-employed. That should be, as we're going forward, a mindset shift. So as we go forward, you don't go back. As I said in the beginning, let's not waste a good crisis. So that when you're going forward, you're going with a different attitude. You start realizing, what do I do that is eating up my time? in a way that I can't work on doing the bigger things for the business, because we underestimate how we use time, and how we use time is what actually brings in the value of the business. So I hope guys are making sense. So I can see some questions coming in. Pauline, your question. Please comment on how to merge strengths and weaknesses in partnerships. Are there people who are more gifted in starting up and others in implementing? Absolutely, Pauline. I think when you start looking, even that question I said in the beginning, what is in your hand? Because I'm saying it comes from you. I think it's someone called Victoria who said, I have the ability to speak, I have the ability to communicate. But there are other things you may not have the ability to do. You may not be the one who's good at execution. You may not be the one who's organized. So you bring in other people who can complement that, because Pauline, then the business stops being about you, but starts being about where does the business have to go. I am very good at communicating, like what I'm doing now. I'm very good at creating content. But the business Centonomy got to a size where I realized to go forward, we also need people who are very good in execution. And that I also did from the beginning, bringing people who are very good at execution, a lot more organized than me, because I am a creative. I'm good at communicating. I'm good at taking ideas and being able to concepts and being able to translate them in ways people can understand. And that is needed for the business. Yeah. As I see people from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Burundi, I'm excited as a creative, because I'm like, whoa, I want to understand how more people in Burundi can interpret what it is that Centonomy does, and then we position ourselves in Burundi. So that's what I'm excited about. But the business, and any business, does need those people who are also good at managing, those people who are also good at execution. So I did work alongside with people that, up to the way where I also stepped down as CEO. Actually stepped up. I decided to become more of a director in the company and do strategy, even as I continue doing that, but have somebody who's extremely, extremely strong in the execution. And it's not just on a CEO level. I think even the way we are building the team is about what strengths do we need. So and I think a lot of people listening here can actually relate to that question Pauline has asked. Yeah. What are you good at? Because even your business needs you to focus on what you are good at. If you're good at going there and communicating with customers and doing business development, your business needs that. But it also needs somebody who's good at execution. Some of us are very good at pitching to the client, but once the client gives us the job, it falls apart, because that's not our strength. So this journey of entrepreneurship is about managing your weaknesses, but we're not telling you to become who you are not. So if you're not good in execution, we're not trying to change. We're not trying to be God and change who he made you to be. So yes, go find the partners, go find the team that is strong. Are there people who are more gifted in starting up and others in implementing? There are some people, yes, and I think it's exactly what I've said. There are some people who thrive on the idea stage, and I'm one of those people. I thrive when there's a new project, yeah? And there are other people who are more gifted in implementing, and none is greater than the other. Both are needed in an organization. So the ability to start up, be persistent, be resilient with it, thriving in the unknown is great. But even as that is going forward, you do need to have the skills that are keeping the business afloat. Does solving a problem mean being unique? Yes, Diana, it does, because, and this is, I think, where we kind of break the concept of competition. Competition is there, but remember, there's a unique, because of your, I call it your thumbprint. There's nobody in this world who has the same thumbprint as you. This is because there is something. Even if I had an identical twin sister, the chances of them having the same thumbprint as me is very little. So because you have that thumbprint, you're meant to do something unique. But when you understand this is the problem I am solving, you focus, and that becomes your uniqueness. So that even if there are a couple of you solving the same problem, chances are there are not going to be 1,000 of you solving the same problem. Yeah. So and problems, we could talk about big problems like I'm solving world hunger. Fine. Yes, you're solving world hunger. But even in that, What specifically are you doing? So a problem will take you to, I'm solving world hunger in this particular country. I'm solving world hunger for this particular group of people. I'm doing it for women. So I'm just talking about what we consider problem solving, because usually we think those problems are those people who are solving world hunger. But I'll go back to even this car salesman example I was giving you. For there to be people coming to you to buy cars, there's a problem you're solving. So what's the problem? People need the convenience of, generally all car dealers, the problem they're solving, people need the convenience of having a car, so here is the car. But this particular person I'm actually talking about, their car, the problem they were solving is that people of a certain market don't want to have the hassle of bringing in cars, going to collect them. So they wanted, what he realized was unique to him was that he was able to do end-to-end, bring in sort out the registration, deliver the car to your house. And that is what he was providing. So that's a unique problem. So it may look like a car dealership like any other, but that becomes what is unique about it. Then when you are now unique, you're focused, you understand who your customer is. Yeah, you remember we talked about the customer is going to have a bias. Understand what the bias of the customer is. So there are many car dealerships, but that particular customer wanted end-to-end service where the car is coming to me. That's a problem you have solved. So just go and you know how, Diana, you can actually do this is go and talk to your customer and understand, what is it that we do? Why do you come here? What did you like? What did you not like? And the more you do these conversations, what I'm saying today will not happen overnight, but the more you do these conversations, the more you'll start understanding what problem it is that you're actually solving. So Shaq, you've also asked legalities while starting a business. I want to direct you to certain blogs we have written in Centonomy.com. If you go to Centonomy.com, you'll be able to go to entrepreneurship section and you'll be able to see some blogs. But even before we go to the legalities, Shaq, because I know you had asked a question. First, even before you go to the legalities, what are you starting? Just understand what are you starting. And then the rest is the formalities everybody does. If you have to register a business, you have to register a business name. Depending on what it is you want to do the business. So you can start operating it just on a business name. And I'd suggest you have a business name because it starts becoming your brand. Then as that business grows, and Shaq, I'm being specific to you because you asked from a startup perspective, as that business grows, you can now say, okay, a company structure would work. Companies work because then you have a way of separating yourself as Shaq from the company. So you may set up a company along the way. And as your business grows, you will have to register with KRA, with tax, with the tax people. But there's a blog I did write about this and it's on Centonomy.com. And I'll advise you to go there. But Shaq, please just first figure out what is the business that I'm starting. Can I go to one customer before I go and start registering and doing all this other complicated stuff? Has one customer, two customers, three customers actually bought my product? Then you can go to the next steps of registration and so on and so forth. And you can really do write to us on talksense@centonomy.com, and we can actually take you, if you want a checklist of those kind of things, we can actually take you through a checklist. Great, guys, we're still on culture. So I've talked about self-employed versus entrepreneur. Now, this is my firm belief about the environment we are going into. And I use David because he's somebody who saw himself so differently from the way the rest of the world saw us. Now, human beings, we are ever evolving and we were created for expansion. For those of you who've read the Bible, you know the story of the talents. And from a culture perspective, it just shows that we are multidimensional. The expectation was that if you have 2 talents, you will multiply. If you have 5 talents, you will multiply. And the master was upset about the person who he gave 1 talent and they did not multiply. So we are meant to multiply, we are meant to expand. Now, if you are running a company, or you are in a leadership position in an organization, please, I firmly think that the time where employment was about controlling people's need for expansion is gone. So we gave them all these fancy names of policies and things like that. But now we have to understand we are relating to each other as human beings, and all human beings. Whether you are the founder Whether you're the general manager, whether you are the accountant, whether you are the messenger in a business, all human beings were created for expansion. So your organization has to offer expansion. I would even like to hear for some of you, especially who are leading teams or who have in businesses that have teams, the fear of letting people grow and thrive. The car salesman example I gave you, you have to let somebody step up, meet the client, and deliver the same service you are doing to the customer. Otherwise, not only will your business not grow, you will not meet people's need for growth and expansion, and they will leave you and they will find other opportunities. Because I think even as we go forward, opportunities will start showing up for people who genuinely grow. So you are not hiring somebody, a human being, to do what you have told them to do. You are hiring somebody who can add value and they can see and do what you cannot. It is not about an employee culture. We've got to understand we are destiny helpers to each other. So you are bringing on board a destiny helper for this business, a purpose helper, an accelerator for your business, not a traditional employee that we had. So the organizations we are now building, guys, is about a group of people who have bought into this vision, bought into this purpose, and the culture is about let us all grow. But for that to be done, you have to allow people to grow. And I know entrepreneurs, we struggle with this. And I think a lot of people I've been talking to have realized that when they had to shut down and work offline, all their employees were waiting for them to tell them what to do. That is not going to work anymore. You needed to have built a team that steps up and even does things that you're not aware of, or you yourself did not know how to do. Because when it's all up to you, and a lot of people burn out because it is up to them alone to solve problems, to come up with ideas. But let us take responsibility as entrepreneurs. It is us who have created that culture. Then they are burnt out, they are stressed, they are fatigued, like the car salesman, who's an actual person that I was talking to you about. That is what was happening in his life. His family was going on holidays and he doesn't go without them, but that is a culture that is set up. So the time has come to an end for those kind of businesses. So we've got to change the way we actually do things. So are you, and even if a couple of people are here and they are running companies with 20 people, some have 10 people, some are starting and they are the person of one, but that culture, so those who have a team already, you have to go and start saying, have I allowed people to grow? And how you allow people to grow is also you seeing where you can go. Because as you move forward, everybody else moves forward with you. If you're stuck in that role, then people don't move forward with you. So you've got to go evaluate what are the things I'm doing, but what are the things that are ensuring that I actually stay stuck? And this responsibility is not just the employer alone. Anyone who's working in an organization, remember I said before, don't leave it to them. Don't leave it to them alone. You've got to come on board and actually help. Treat your role or your job as a business and bring in that problem solver, bring in that creativity, because the employee of the future is not the one who was reporting 8 to 5 and waiting for a paycheck. That is going to go. Yeah, and if it doesn't go immediately, it's actually go. We've been put in a situation where people are now evaluating working hours, 8 to 5. Does it work? Maybe for some businesses, maybe for others, no. Does having a physical office work? Pay structures, people are evaluating pay structures. This one of fixed structure where if I work more, if I deliver more is not coming, or if I deliver less. So that fixed structure is also being evaluated by a lot of businesses. So culture is going to change. If you're a leader of any side, people don't need bosses. Nobody needs bosses. Nobody needs to be micromanaged. If you have people who need to be micromanaged, there's something wrong with the culture or there's something wrong with the people. People need mentors and leaders. Yeah, so that is what. So your job as the entrepreneur or anyone who's in a position of leadership is to grow people, to challenge them, and also prepare to actually be challenged. Great. Let me see if there are any questions I need to find. George, I don't know if you had the what I told Shaq, Those are really the factors to consider when starting. It's really about first of all, let's start with what business are you starting? And once you've figured that out, once you have experimented, let's be okay, guys, first of all, with experimenting first before we get complicated. Then you can go through the formalities of this is how you register, this is how you register yourself with the tax authorities, and that is on, as I said, there's a blog on the website I had once written about the things that you actually need to know here. So, but it's really, George, it's really about what is the business first, because also it is some of the answer to your question will also be about industry. What industry are you looking at? But for most, it's really not complicated. But I guess that anything when you're understanding to start a business is, do you understand what you are doing? Do you understand the product? Do you understand the service? Do you understand the market? And have you tested it out? So do that first. Okay. Elsie, thank you for reiterating my comment. People need mentors, not bosses. People need mentors because the human nature is about expansion. Martin, I can see your question. How do you create entrepreneurial culture among the staff in your organization? First, I would suggest that it comes from you. You've got to let them do things that they are not doing now. One of the shifts that happened when I was at Centonomy a couple of years back is, for example, I'm just giving you an example. We used to have team meetings. And for a long time, those team meetings, who would chair? Me. Who would be the one speaking? Me. But I remember at one point, I told people, I don't know anything. I'm no longer chairing the team meeting. This is going to rotate. So different people are going to have to come up, ask questions, give update on what is happening with the business and whatever. And when we started that, a culture shift started to happen because people understood Waceke doesn't have all the answers. And I was open about telling people, I don't have all the answers, so I'm expecting you to come on board with the answers. So one of the things, Martin, you can do is also create the right expectations in people. You're not here to do predetermined tasks all the time. I know in any business, there are routines that should be done, but my expectation is that you add value and also come with your ideas to the table. That's number one. Number two is also just letting them thrive. If you're the only one, Martin, who has ever talked to customers, don't be the only one who's ever talked to customers. Grab somebody and say, hey, you, what are you doing today? Come with me to the pitch, so that they can learn from you. They can learn from you, Martin, how you speak to your customers. Next time, maybe they can do half the pitch. Then the other time, you may not need to go with them at all, okay? And then it's a different thing. Not everybody is going to be the one talking to the customers, but it's really allowing people to mentor you. Let them understand where this business is going, because a lot of people are working for people and they don't understand the vision, they don't understand the purpose. So, and you know, I have faced that, where as entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in what we're doing. Us guys can feel the vision. Yeah, we can feel the purpose, but other people don't. So communicate, and it's not once, twice, many times. Keep communicating the vision and keep communicating why each person's role is important to the vision. Yeah, so that's what I would just suggest. But as a starting point, just ask yourself, what am I doing? Martin, this is what you ask yourself, and anybody who can relate to Martin's question. What am I doing that I can start releasing? You may be doing 10 things, and I'm not telling you release all 10 things at one point, but what are you doing that you can start releasing? Nancy, excellent question. What if I plan to start a business that's not in the line of my profession? That's fine. My brother has what we call a digital agency. And when he started, he was doing websites, social media for people. And I hope, I think Dan will forgive me if I use him as an example, yeah? He did, till today, if you ask my brother to do a website, he can't do it. If you ask, even setting up a social media page is whatever. But you see what entrepreneurs are, Nancy, they are the ones who identify the opportunity. And I feel because you have asked this question, you have seen an opportunity, and what is locking you and what is holding you back is that you think that you don't have the experience and the qualifications for it. So my brother just worked with a team of people who can do the websites, who can do the social media, who can do the digital media stuff. But what he realized he's also good at is business development. The client, he's good at relationships with customers. So that's what he built, and other people would do the technical part. So Nancy, I hope that's giving you an idea of a business is not just about the technical part. If you want to be an if you want to start an accounting business, let's say you're not an accountant, but you have realized, and let me just say something that I think is a gap, that a lot of SMEs cannot have full-time accountants. So what they actually need is somebody who will charge them, you know, $100, $150. I'm using dollars for the sake of, you know, our continental viewers here. People in Kenya can understand 10,000, 15,000 shillings. What they need is someone who 5,000, charge them a bit of money for bookkeeping, accounting, and what they need, rather than having a full-time accountant. Yeah. So you realize that is a gap, but you're not an accountant. All you need to do is partner with somebody who can do the accounting, but you can go and sell and build the business. Because if you are good at putting the accountants together, you are good at positioning the business, getting in customers. If you are able to get in customers, by all means, because the role of an entrepreneur is not to be the technician. The role of an entrepreneur is to put resources together that can take advantage of that opportunity. Thank you very much for your comments, Rita. Thank you very much for your comments, Martin. Okay. Guys, just keep your questions coming in. We still have around 8 minutes to go. So, last but not least, money. Mindset with money. Mindset with money. Mindset with money. How many of us were just running our businesses for survival? And this is what I mean by survival. Money comes, you use it either on the business or you use it for your personal. It comes through your bank account. It comes through your M-Pesa account. It comes through anywhere, wherever it's coming from, cash. You either continue using it to get new supplies for the business, but that day, if you also need food for your house, you go to the supermarket and buy food for your house. So your business has just become this system that keeps you on survival. Yeah. No. Okay. This is what we've been taught. It can't just be about survival. You have got to save. I mean, it's so basic. Everybody knows they should save, but very few of people in the world save. You need to manage money in a way that you save. You've got to have, I think one of the things that has been shifted, and I hope has been shifted for the future for everybody, is the need to put money aside. So you need to have money for your personal needs aside. People needed to have money that can sustain them for 3 to 6 months, yeah, even as they figure out what to do. But also your business would benefit from having some level of savings for the business so that you can still meet running costs, you can still pay salaries, or you can still invest in the things that need to be invested in going forward. So you need personal savings for yourself, but also for your business, this is something we really emphasize in our Centonomy Entrepreneur Program and teach people how to do it. You've got to pay yourself from the business so that you separate the way you handle money from the way the business handles money. So this is the mindset I want you to get. Your business money is your business money. Your money is your money. Let your business pay you, and then you use that to handle your personal expenses and your personal savings. But the business is an entity by itself. So it should also be able to have its own cash reserves. Somebody asked about investors very early on, so I hope they're still listening. Yeah, before you even think about investors, yes, there's a way you can bring in investors, and I think on one of the chats we'll have one day on Making Sense is about raising capital for your business, and I'll bring in someone to talk about this. But this is what I want you to leave you with. Don't bring any money into your business that is not in line with the purpose that you're going for. Because so many people have brought in external investors who then come and destroy the entire soul of the business because they're all about money. So if you're bringing in an investor in your business, please make sure that they are in line with the plan and the purpose. And before you bring in an investor, please make sure that you have proof of concept. You have already worked enough on your business to have a concept. Don't bring an investor in because you are desperate. Yeah. So bringing in an investor is a process of, first of all, developing your business plan and then seeing what kind of money fits into my business plan. So I hope that has left you for now, but it is not the first place that you should actually go. Judith, you're asking, how can you sell the vision to employees? First of all, write it down. Write it down. Because we also have visions in our head that we have not written it down. So write it down. Once you have written it down for yourself, break it down to your employees. Yeah. So if your vision is to have a hospitality college in 5 years, then that is what you should tell them. Tell them why that vision is important, and then tell them what role they have to play in the vision. You may realize not everybody is going to buy into your vision, but then it will then all point you, do you have the right people or don't you have the right people? Then I would also encourage you, Judith, once you have sold the vision, please talk to them one by one. I remember I did this with my team a while ago. One by one, have meetings with them one-on-one to talk about that vision, to get their understanding of the vision. What do you use to get the right employees on board? Don't hire for qualifications, hire for personality, hire for aptitude. So for example, if you want somebody who is good in sales, what are you looking for? You're looking for the ability to communicate. Test that. Yeah. Your ability. Are you looking for the ability to be a team? Are you looking for an analytical ability? The criteria you use is not qualifications. The criteria is what kind of personality does this role actually need? Then you'll understand, is it a creative? Is it someone who's good with people? Is it someone who's good with communicating? Is it someone who's good with teams? What are you looking for? Don't say accountant. Say, I'm looking for someone analytical, good with numbers, can communicate. And then when you're doing the interview, Judith, you actually test for that. Okay. So let me see if I have anything. I think I've tried to handle most of the questions. I just want to touch on Stevens. How do you handle adversity and doubt when everybody is going to doubt you and strangers you've never met will even sit around plotting your downfall? Very simple. Ignore them. Ignore them and make the voices, the conversations that you're having, have the conversations with the right people. Forget about, the answer is straight up, ignore them. Start having conversations, Stephen, with people who have walked the journey, and start filling your mind. Log on to Making Sense every Friday at 2 p.m., but start filling your mind with the possibilities more than what will actually happen, because you've never met these people. So they're just not a passenger in your vehicle. Yeah. So other people are going to doubt you, but the most important part is, will you doubt yourself? Okay. And you don't need an advertising team from the beginning or a marketing team from the beginning. And I think one of the things we do break down in the course is how to do this marketing, but it's first understanding who is your customer and what is the best way of reaching them. And then you'll understand, who do I actually need? But for a lot of businesses, you first start by doing it yourself. Then as you do it and get better at it, you do understand, you do start realizing what resources you need. Of course, for bigger businesses, yes. It's not about having a full advertising or marketing team, but you may need to have a resource that is consistently on something. But remember, you don't have to hire all the time. You can use agencies, you can use partnerships. That's a really important point. Yeah. So, but it is an important aspect of obviously of running the business. But no, you don't have to have, for any role, you don't have to have full teams on board from the very beginning. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it has been fantastic talking to you. We're just gonna put up a slide just to show you where you can get the book. But this has just been amazing. I'm realizing that this conversation could actually have gone on for another hour, but we will definitely do it another time. So just to remind you that you can get the Making Sense book. And today we've talked about money, yeah, and the mindset of money, even as an entrepreneur, and getting your personal savings right as well. So the Making Sense has those stories that you can actually use to understand, even as my business makes money, what do I actually do to ensure personally that I'm taking care of myself, and the principles can be translated into the business as well. So you can get the book. On screen is showing you how to get the book. You can call that number and the book can be delivered to you. You can also buy it online, Raffle Books, Amazon, and Nuria. And we have our bookshops at Yaya Center, Africa Book Hub, and Prestige. For those of you who are not in Kenya, remember you can get it on Amazon, and you can also call that number as well. And my colleague Beth will also be in touch with you to let you know how you can get the book. Please remember, for those of you who do want to take the Centonomy Entrepreneur Program, it is now online, and you can still let us know if you want to register or get more information on the Centonomy Entrepreneur Program. From wherever you are, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Burundi, it is online, so you can actually take it online. And it takes this conversation now to another level, plus some of the questions that we were not able to get through today. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for all those who are commenting online. And I'm glad you read the book and it's very good. Alan, Vera, George, Kaji, Stephen, thank you very much. Remember, Making Sense, 2 p.m. Friday. Let your neighbor, your family, your community, your WhatsApp groups know, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.